Welcome to the Hoops&Huddle podcast. I am Malika, and today I am joined by Natalia, Nat the GM, ReesRebel on Twitter, and I just love her football knowledge. I was the rookie in her fantasy league last year. We're doing it again. She's doing it again this year. I'm in her league again this year. Really excited to do just an NFL preview show, because Natalia is so knowledgeable about the NFL, everything that's happening with the NFL. So, Natalia, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Nat the GM. Um, Listen, I'm excited about, the upcoming season, with football. And I just want to thank you so much, Malika, for having me.
To the NFL. NFL season kicks off next Thursday, September 7th. I'm looking forward to the new season. I just think that it's going to be interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers does with the Jets. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm not exactly extremely pleased with how Saquon was treated with his contract, and what's going on with the running backs in the NFL and how I feel like for years, it's been a long time coming that there's been there's always something with the running backs. I feel like they needed their own union. They should have pushed for something different. I think they should be able to enter the league earlier than other players, because of, I don't think they need to be there through their junior year. I think they should be able to come out earlier, considering the wear and tear that's on their bodies and them not being able to maximize their profitability. I say this because we have the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, who, they couldn't find proper value. And we knew this was going to happen because look at the timing of the owner allowing him to make a trade. And we knew that at this time, the timing of it was just a few weeks ago or a week ago, he gave him that after all the movement when the season's about to start. I mean, what are we doing here? So give me your thoughts on the Jonathan Taylor running back controversy.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, because Jonathan Taylor, is one of the premier, guys in the league, at that running back position. When you look at some of the other guys that we've seen, and we know their names over the past few years, they're getting a little older. They got a little bit of wear and tear on them. So now, who's the next crop of running back superstars? And in the dictionary, next to next crop of running back superstars is Jonathan Taylor. So when it comes to the Colts, I don't understand why you don't understand. He is your best player by far. He is your guy. He is the one that he moves the needle, and he's young. This is not a 30-year-old Jonathan Taylor telling you that I want my respect. I gave you a lot, give me a contract. This is a young man, He's probably has 3 seasons under his belt, and he's telling you, to value me, respect me, and you can't do that. I think it looks bad on the Colts, to be honest with you. And I don't mind these running backs speaking up because they're not getting treated fairly anyway. You put a lot of wear and tear on them. You lean on them heavily for regardless. If your quarterback is average, you leaning on your running back. If your quarterback is really good, you're leaning on your running back. These guys get ran into the ground quickly. They are the first to go, essentially. And the NFL, they're showing you what they think of you, because they think you come a dime a dozen, when you can't tell me that there's just Derrick Henrys, all over the place. There aren't, Christian McCaffreys, all over the place. There isn't Saquon everywhere. These guys are special, and they aren't a dime a dozen. So I just think that it's interesting how they're getting treated, and it's not fair at all. And I think that at some point, there needs to be a union, amongst players, and where they can really get their just due, because they are killing themselves. So
I think the running back specifically, like it's that union. I mean, there's so many players in like the overall union. I just think that running backs need to lobby for themselves. I mean, you have, every year you have a running back that's trying to fight for their value. The one of the ones that sticks out the most is Le'Veon Bell. And I just think that they just get the short end of the stick. Look how the Cowboys um, use their star running back, and then once he was used up, it was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like they aren't really respected and aren't treated the way they should be treated, and just a dismissive way the Colts owner handled that situation wasn't exactly all that great. But looking at when you're looking at the AFC, you have the AFC East. Who you think, like looking at each conference, who do you think's gonna, when you look at the AFC East, what team are you most excited about? Who do you think is gonna, like really make some noise in the new season? Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, how you feel about Tua with Miami, like, or Josh Allen? You think he's going to have a resurgence? Like, who do you think in the AFC East is going to be that team that really sticks out?
All right, so number one team is going to be Buffalo. Buffalo, Miami, New England Jets, you're not going to beat out Buffalo. Buffalo is the problem with Buffalo is not the regular season. They are phenomenal when it comes to the regular season. The problem with Buffalo is something happens in the playoffs and they just can't get over the hump. So therefore, when it comes to regular season, they're going to get you 13 wins. I think bare minimum is 12, but they're the surefire team that's going to definitely go over 10 wins, and when it comes to the rest of them, I don't think New England's going to be much better. I think that New England probably will be 9-8, and that's, I think that's being nice, saying that.
That is being nice.
I think that'd be very nice. I think they could, wind up back with an 8-9 record. They could be 7-10. I mean, they have, Ramondre. They got Zeke over there, and then they got Juju. They got some guys with some names, but they got some pieces that are just like, okay, and then they got Mac Jones. I'm not a huge Mac Jones believer. I think that he is stable, but he's not special.
Right.
So, and then their defense is going to be top notch. It's going to be defense. So if you think about it, it's all over the place. So the defense is actually going to probably win them some games, which is probably why I would say they'll probably be in the 8-9 range. When it comes to Miami, they were 9-8 last year. So we know Tyreek Hill is explosive. He has the potential to be the number one wide receiver every year until his body is done.
Tua needs to stay healthy for the entire season.
There you go.
And then they can really break out if he can stay healthy.
Tua staying healthy, that defense, really producing, and then their running back game. They don't necessarily have an RB1. They have a committee kind of situation going on. So you kind of never know where they're leaning with the running back situation. Then we thought that they were going to actually get Jonathan Taylor. It did not happen.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to Miami, I want to believe that Tua is going to be healthy. I want to believe that Tua is going to be good. I want to believe that his concussions are behind him and he's protected better. And he's going to be okay. I want to believe that, and that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to put that into the atmosphere, because you never want to see somebody go down like that. And so they can, if that all happens, and then you got to remember they have Waddle, and Waddle is a one on his own. He is just phenomenal. Yep. So they got 2 ones over there, and then if the running back by committee can be stable, and not give up yardage, but be stable and be a positive. And then the defense is good. So you're looking at a team that probably maybe they get 10. I think that there's going to be a lot of 10 win teams this year that probably will not make the playoffs, because of how good a lot of teams have gotten over, in this off season, so they could be 10 and 7
and not
and
just
still
how
be.
good, like teams have gotten. I just think the style of play we have in the NFL now is
Mm-hmm.
so offensively centric, like different, but similar, like how the NBA game is very offensively centric. Like defense has to be so precise, and I just think the game is so different, and the way the players are coming in are interesting. It's perfect for the game that is played now. So it's going to be interesting to see how the game evolves as well, because
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's moved in the right direction. Because my biggest thing in the NFL is the CTE and just the impact that
Mm-hmm.
Julius Seau is one of my favorite players of all time, and I just think about the impact CTE had on him. And but at the same time, it's like, okay, you have CTE, but the game is a little different. You have people that complain about how the game is played today. But the reason why there were changes to the game is because of the impact of head injuries on players long term. But that's a
Of
whole
course.
other subject. And go ahead, I'm
I
gonna
mean,
keep on to
it's
that.
a it's a whole other subject, really. That also, and it's like that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to certain players,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
them being healthy but being protected as well. Your O
Yeah.
line got to protect you, man. Like
Yeah.
you can't think, and this goes for even Mister Iron Man. I like to call him when it comes to Josh Allen. I understand, dude. You are big, you are strong, but buddy, you're gonna have a short career. If you think that you're just gonna get hit and bounce back up for the next 10 years, of your career, you got to slow it down. You got to allow the O line to protect you,
Yeah.
and stay in the pocket, more times than not as you get older, and hit your guys, hit your targets, So when it comes to the East, I don't see it moving as much, except Buffalo first. I'll give the Jets second, Miami third, New England fourth. That is the
Okay.
only switch up I see, and I think the Jets are sneaky. They have crazy talent on that team. A huge surge in quarterback play. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, you go from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers, and you got 7 wins with Zach Wilson. Let's think about that. 7 wins. And then you get Aaron Rodgers and you get, Dalvin Cook, Wilson gets Aaron Rodgers, and he has his quarterback, and Rodgers has his WR1. He also brought some people over from Green Bay that he has a connection with. This team is a team that, if they put it together properly, they could be one of those teams where they could be contenders. It just all depends on how they all put it together and if they're healthy, and how much they click. But it's just, I don't think that any team in the league right now, no one knows who's going to win the Super Bowl. I think we had a little bit of a thought the last couple years who was going to get to the Super Bowl. I think this year is one of the years that if you pick somebody, you're going to be wrong.
Right. Um, One thing I do like what the Jets did, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, I think that was the one thing they were missing last year,
Yep.
was a competent quarterback that can really push and get some points on the board, and really hit those wide receivers. So I think they made some improvements with bringing in Aaron Rodgers and bringing in some receivers. But we'll see how it happens. I've been an Aaron Rodgers fan for some time, but um, he is a little older now, so let's see. And it seems the Jets love signing, Packer quarterbacks when they are almost on their way out, or on
Yeah.
their last leg or up there, and here they go again. So yeah, so that's that. I do like those moves from the Jets, but we shall see. Um,
Absolutely.
what happens there. Aaron Rodgers really hasn't seen much, or has he played in the preseason yet? Has he?
Aaron, a couple snaps.
Okay. Now let's move on to the AFC North. Now the AFC North has a lot of. Let's save the AFC North for last because I feel like those where the heavy hitters are, like with the AFC. That conference is live. But AFC South, we have Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee. What I like about, the Jacksonville quarterback, I think he's gotten better. You know what I mean? Each year, I like what I see from him. So let's, what are your thoughts on the AFC South?
I think this is a sneaky division because number one, when we talk about Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence is ascending. He's going to have a phenomenal.
Yes, Trevor Lawrence is definitely ascending.
He's ascending. This is his year where he's going to be a top 3 quarterback. He has potential of being a number 1 quarterback, that in fantasy especially. He's one of those guys though where he progresses through the season. He doesn't need an off season to show his progress because last year he was progressing. Then when they went on a 5-game win streak, before the end of the season, and he's very accurate. He's very smart. He's got a good body, and he understands the field and his positioning. Then he gets Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, was a hell of a receiver before, he was put on suspension by the league last year. He hasn't played about a year and a half, but he looks great.
He still is. Yeah.
He looks great. And I gotta say, I understand. I think he's about 29, and we all know you're on the interesting part of 29. You're going to touch 30, and that's when receivers get a little interesting in their careers. But here's the thing: he hasn't been playing in a year and a half, so you might be throwing to a 27-year-old Calvin Ridley body-wise because there isn't that year and a half worth of wear and tear.
Right.
So when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, you have Etienne, you have Calvin Ridley. My sneaky favorite wide receiver was his WR1 last year, Christian Kirk. And then you have Ingram. Then you have a solid defense. That team is going to put it together. And when it comes to the South, they're going to be right at the top of it again. I think that Houston does a little bit better than Indianapolis, and that will put them 3rd. And I think Tennessee will be 2. The only swap I see is Houston and Indianapolis for this year. I like Houston. I think that they are doing the right things, and moving in the right direction. They might get you about 6 or 7 wins, and that's okay for a young team. They got a rookie quarterback, so what? In Indianapolis,
they're building. They're pretty much building for the future, and building and growing those habits for the future. So I agree.
Oh, they have nothing to worry about. They can literally go through the season and trial and error, because at some point when it reaches a couple of years down the line, a couple of years actually pretty soon, but you're gonna see Houston take another leap because I think that they're doing the right things, not making too much noise, but they're drafting well. I think they took the right quarterback, so Houston looks good. 6 or 7 wins. I think they'll double it. They only won 3 last year. I think they can get about 6, and Indianapolis maybe about 4 or 5.
Okay. What do you think about Tennessee?
Tennessee, they are probably the most sneakiest team, I'm going to say, in the AFC, because you think that Hopkins, he's 30 now, he's in his 30s, Tannehill older, Derrick Henry older, and then you think, they're not going to make the playoffs again. Last year, they only won 7 games. But then I say they won 7 games last year. Things were up and down. Then you add DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that there is any way that they just win 7 games. I don't think they match what they did last year. I actually think that they're going to be a 9-win team next year.
Okay.
Yep, 9-8.
Okay, that they could be sneaky. I'm looking at them in Jacksonville in the AFC, in that division. So it'll be interesting. I'm one of those weird people considering NFL Sunday ticket.
Hmm.
So I may catch them some of their games. I think I'm gonna enjoy flicking around
Hmm.
the league because I wasn't able to. I was stuck with the Jets and Giants every single Sunday. And then I will have to turn to the NFL Network to watch to see what's going on with the games during the day. I'm thinking
Right.
I'm thinking about taking that hit and doing that. So I think for today we'll focus on the AFC and then we'll record another one for the NFC because I'm
Sure.
already looking at the time and I'm like,
Sure.
yeah, yeah. So for the AFC North, I think this, to me, this is the hot pocket. You know what I mean? Like, there's but so many that could come out of this division, like two
You
teams.
don't want you don't want to do the West before you get to the North?
I mean, yeah, let's get to the West. That makes sense. The North should, yeah, I did say I wanted to do the North last.
Yeah.
Let's hit the Broncos. Let's do the West. Because yeah, you have you're giving Russell Wilson a quarterback. They're giving him a coach that, like Sean Payton, that's taking the reins and, ready to, bring that Russell magic back. But to me, that division is owned by everybody. That division is owned by Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I remember when the Broncos pretty much ruled that division. So it's so funny. Not funny, but it is reality. That division belongs to the Chiefs, Mahomes, Andy Reid. So give me your thoughts on the AFC West.
All right. So, as you can see, behind me, I am a Saints
Thanks,
fan,
man. Yeah.
Saints fan for about 13, 14 years. I love Patrick Mahomes. He is absolutely my quarterback. You know, um, I honestly feel like when you just look up perfect in the dictionary when it comes to quarterbacks, his face is just right there. That man
Yep.
is
Yep.
perfect. He's smart. He makes the
Yep.
right reads.
I love Patrick Mahomes.
You, you
Yep.
know, he moves when he needs to, runs when he needs to, he
Mm-hmm.
adjusts when he needs to. He is perfection. And that is with, some of his faults, which is very little,
Yep. Yep.
he's still perfect when it comes to being a quarterback. So they won the Super Bowl last year, and then you got to look at they lost some pieces. No, McCole Hardman and no Juju. Juju had
Right.
a nice season.
He
You know,
did. He contributed. He didn't
he
always do it
contributed
with
a
the
great
social
deal,
media stuff, but he did contribute to the
a
Chiefs. I
great
mean,
deal.
not as much as people thought he would, but he did contribute.
I think he did more than what I thought he would, to be
Oh, okay.
honest.
Okay.
He got about 850 yards, but he had a few touchdowns. He had some big games. He went on a stretch,
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
games, 90 yards, 80 yards, and a touchdown. He had some explosive games. He did exactly what he needed to do for them, and now he's gone. McCole Hardman had some decent plays as well, and now what do you have? You got Sky Moore. You got a couple young guys. So now the question mark with Kansas City is how Chris Jones going to do. Chris Jones has not
Yep.
signed yet,
Mm-hmm.
so how's that going to look? That he's a big part of what they do. And then you're looking at the only sure thing I know is Andy Reid to Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce. That is what I know, and that is what's going to work until Kelce is done, and he's like, I'm retiring because he's getting older. But the running back situation, Pacheco was amazing, last year. He just took it over, and he was exactly what they needed. I think he's going to do the exact same thing this year because he earned it, and he earned trust. When you perform in the playoffs, but you perform in the Super Bowl, you have earned your spot. So he's going to be back. Now the question mark is if Sky Moore or one of the other young guys are going to be, more heavily involved now that they have some room. So Kansas City has some question marks, but if there's any team I trust to figure it out, it's definitely a team led by Patrick Mahomes.
I agree. I think because of how they were able to bounce back after losing Tyreek Hill, people just have this vision of Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't matter who you slot in there. He could throw to anybody, and the Chiefs are just going to dominate. I think this year is a good test. Let's see what he does now that Kansas City, got rid of a few more weapons that, he built a rapport with. So that is gonna be interesting. It's just that with Patrick Mahomes, I'm like, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like they're gonna figure it out. But
Absolutely.
it could be that season where, like
Mhm.
something is amiss. So how that we'll see how that goes. And Scantling sometimes is, I don't know, like, he was on my team last year, when we, with your fantasy league, and
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I'm not
I tell
extremely.
I tell you this. I tell you this right now, right? He has now become the second veteran on that team when it
Yep.
comes to receiving.
Yep.
I think that he'll be used a lot more than last year. He's
And
become.
that should help. That should definitely help.
Oh, it'll help
Um,
because he had some games where he was called upon and he actually made some plays. He actually made some really good plays. So and Patrick knows him. So I think he'll be used more.
yeah. I mean, we'll see how that goes. How you feel about their defense?
It's decent. It's decent. I mean, you're looking at right now. I think it's meddling. It's like it's not great, but it's not terrible.
But they shouldn't, in previous years, like, Patrick Mahomes basically had to, it was known, like, you get the defensive one there, the competing team is going to be able to march down on him. I don't think they can do that
I
like
I
as
wouldn't
much
lean on
as.
the I wouldn't lean on the defense to let's trust our defense
No,
to
I
get us
want
the
not to
ball
that
back.
extent, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily, give up the lead, because that was happening all the time to them. I don't think that would happen in every case. And because before you were just able to, teams knew they could just run through them or throw, and they were going to get to the end zone. You know what I mean? They were just cones out
Absolutely.
there. I don't think that they have cones necessarily, like, so I'm not saying they're extremely formidable, but they're not, I don't see them as the cones that they had the reputation of being a few years ago.
Yeah, we're gonna see what they do, but I think that when it comes to the West, how it looks, the only swap I see is Denver and Vegas. I think that Vegas will be last. Denver will be third, possibly second. I think they're going to be in a battle with the Chargers. The Chargers are going to look a lot better as well. Herbert is ascending, so I feel like
Yeah.
as long as Keenan Allen is healthy, long as Eckler, everything makes sense for him, he's healthy. Herbert, they got a new offense over there. Defense is pretty solid. It's pretty good. So I don't know, man. Denver and the Chargers are going to be battling, but Kansas City is going to be number one.
I'm really curious what, like what Sean Payton does with Russell Wilson. So I'm really curious to see what Russell Wilson looks like this season.
Better.
Like he's gonna look better. He has to
Mm-hmm.
look better this season. Because last season I never saw Russell Wilson make the throws and just the miscues he had last season. Like last season, I didn't even recognize him on the field, to be honest.
Yeah, there was a disconnect there. There was
Yeah.
definitely a disconnect, but a coach that believes in him, and I think they have a similar philosophy. And
Mm-hmm.
he's going to have
Mm-hmm.
Russell's back. I think you're going to see a different guy. Russell's not done, and I want to make that very clear with people. Russell's not done.
No, he's not. I'm really
He's
excited that Sean Payton is the coach there, and I think
right.
we'll see a much better Russell Wilson this season. So I'm actually excited to see what he does this season. Part of me, like I'm a John Elway fan, so part of me, like and Terrell Davis and that Shannon Sharp, that team, Rod Smith. So when it's like part of me wants to see, Denver not be as sucky as they were last year. Like that was just, I was like, man, I know that it's Mahomes division, but come on, guys. Like, come on, Denver. So,
Yeah,
but
they're going to be fun.
it's still weird. I don't care how long in the future we're talking about the Raiders. It will always be weird to not say the Oakland Raiders. Like, I know they're in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about Al Davis and the Oakland Raiders and Las Vegas Raiders. This doesn't hit the same. But respect to the Las Vegas Raiders and hope they have a decent season coming up.
It'll be abysmal, but
I'm speaking positive thoughts now. Speaking positive thoughts. Now we're going to get to I call it the monster division. AFC North, you got the Baltimore Ravens with the newly signed Lamar Jackson, Cincinnati Bengals. Their coach, Joe Burrow, is a little injured. We'll talk about them. Cleveland, Deshaun Watson is back and ready to prove himself again. And then you have the Steelers. I think one of the things with the Steelers is, Mike Tomlin has yet to have a losing season. But when I look at them, I'm like, in this division, it's going to be a fight. So let's break this division down. Let you take it away.
Sure, Cincinnati. So, as we all know, I said I am a New Orleans Saints fan, and I love Patrick Mahomes. But my second favorite quarterback is Joe Burrow, Joey B. I think that he is another guy that's getting there close to damn near perfect. He is phenomenal. I love this guy. And he's only getting better. Your second year in the league and you're in the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, you got to be pretty damn good,
Absolutely. Yeah, Joe Burrow, yeah, everything you just said. Yep.
Yeah, he's amazing. Probably my favorite wide receiver right now is actually Jamar Chase. So I got a lot of stock in Cincinnati. I actually think that, going out on a limb here, I might just say I have Cincinnati probably, getting to the Super Bowl. I could be wrong. This is a weird season where damn near anybody could come up and just surge at the right time. But Cincinnati to me looks poised. Mixon, he's got the legal trouble off of his back. So therefore, Mixon, I think, is going to have a phenomenal season. They got a clear RB1. He's explosive. And I don't think we've seen the best of Mixon yet. Joey B, he's going to be healthy. I think week 1 he's going to play. He's been sitting out. He's been nursing, his body. I think he'll be fine week 1. I think they have him actually playing week 1 on track. Jamar Chase, you can argue he's the best wide receiver. You can argue it, but he might be definitely top 2, top 3 guaranteed. He's going to have a big season. Then they have T. Higgins. Then they have a really solid defense, really good defense. They got everything they need, to take them to the Super Bowl as high as they can go. I think the thing about them, diversifying that offense, sometimes you could kind of see what they were doing. A good chunk of the first half of the season, you understood they were going to throw the ball up, and they knew Jamar Chase was better than everybody else. He was going to go get it. They put a lot of pressure. There was no diversity to their offense, and it was just like, you got great players, you can get creative. And hopefully the coach understands that better now, and it won't be so one note, so diversify that playbook, get guys going, stop looking so, automatic, like, oh, I know what he's gonna run. Oh, I know, Jamar is gonna try to catch it over 2 guys. Let's kind of stop that. So that's my thing with Cincinnati. On top of their soft tackling defense, their defense has got to be tougher. Last year in the playoffs, I think when they played Buffalo, Buffalo just didn't have it. They were all off. Josh Allen was horrendous. Injured, but horrendous nonetheless. And if Buffalo really just tried the second time after the first, tackle, they probably could have gotten away and broke away for a lot of first downs, because Cincinnati tackles so softly, and I think so. Cincinnati, hopefully that defense, when you got your hands on a guy, make sure he's down, don't just keep him down. And that's what I kind of want to see with Cincinnati's defense. Other than that team is perfect. I don't think they need much of anything other than diversification when it comes to the playbook. And
What's their kryptonite though? Like what team in the division can give them the biggest challenge?
in their division, you have to talk about Baltimore. You
Yep.
know,
Lamar
Baltimore.
Jackson and the Ravens.
Yeah, so so let's talk about it. 10 wins last year. They were
Mm-hmm.
very up and down. Offense, wasn't really clicking. J.K. Dobbins wasn't, he was I think halfway injured. Then he comes back and he looks really good. You know, Lamar gets paid. Let's talk about that. Lamar got his money.
Yep.
That is off of his shoulders now. You don't have to think about that. That money you have signed, you're sealed, you are delivered. So therefore, that money is done. So that now we can check that off the list. Then they go get Odell. Odell really wanted to play with Lamar.
Yes.
Lamar really wanted Odell. That's a great relationship right there already. I want you and you want me here and I want you here. So therefore, they're gonna work very well together. Then they got, a couple guys. They got Zay Flowers and they got Rashad Bateman. I think Zay Flowers is going to be end up being the WR1. He's just that damn good, and I think Odell's going to be secondary. I think he's older, coming off of some injuries. Doesn't move like he used to, but definitely still really
so you
good.
think Flowers is going to be the
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking it'll be Odell and Zay. Okay.
Zay Flowers and Odell, and I think that's perfect for Zay.
That makes sense. Sense. It does.
Yeah. Kind of like I kind of look at Odell a little bit how I look at Michael Thomas. Then that's kind of just how I look at it, and I think that's okay as long as you guys can stay on the field. You're healthy and you can still get guys open. You can still get open from time to time, make some really good plays. That's really all you can ask for. No one needs you to be 2016 Odell Beckham. It's okay.
I like Mark Andrews as well.
Of course.
So, how do you feel about their offensive line?
Pretty solid. It's pretty solid.
You have Lamar, who's in terms of mobile quarterbacks, he's the most mobile quarterback in the league. And in terms of his running, and when I look at their running back, the wear and tear, like they split that, that running role out there. Okay.
No, I think they'll be good because a lot of what they do is contingent on, Lamar's legs, but also you got J.K. Dobbins, and J.K. Dobbins is actually healthy. So, J.K. Dobbins is going to have a really good season. If this team stays healthy, although I still don't see them beating Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But in the words of my favorite football movie, Any Given Sunday.
I just watched that a few weeks ago. Again,
it's so good, isn't it?
I really like that movie. I do like that movie. I feel like the scenes of them on the field and what happens in the locker room, it just resonated. It resonated. What about that defense?
Oh, the defense is going to be really good. One thing about Baltimore, there's a couple things you can depend on, and one of those things is that damn defense is going to be definitely aggressive. They're going to get after it. Are they as good as previous years? No, they're not. But I think that they're building, and we'll see what they have. But they're going to be fun. I really don't see this order actually moving. From last year, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I kind of have it right there, again, in the same order. I think Baltimore can get you 11 wins instead of 10. Cincinnati is going to get you 12 to 13. I think Pittsburgh gets you 10 this year. I really like Pittsburgh. I think they're obviously well coached. The defense is going to be great, and it's really good every year. But
my thing with them is the QB situation. Like, I just got to see.
He's better. He's a lot better, actually. He's better. So that's actually why I'm an extra win and one more extra win, because I think that he's gotten better. They'll get to double digits, and they're getting a better connection. Also, Najee Harris is healthy, and Jalen Warren is going to be in there a little bit too. I think this is a 10-win team. I don't know if they get to the playoffs, but I think they definitely can get you 10.
Okay, so Najee Harris, George Pickens. I could see it. I can't. They're well coached. They have a decent defense. The offense could put some point. Improve and putting some points on the board. Yeah, I agree with you. I think they could be better. I mean, they're well
Yeah,
coached. So,
absolutely.
next, what are your thoughts on the Browns?
I could care less about the Browns. When it comes to the Browns, I think that,
They paid all that money to Deshaun. I mean, that man, that fully guaranteed contract, but
hey,
his roster. I mean, Amari Cooper's there, Nick Chubb, but I don't know. Yeah, let's speak
so
about it a little bit.
their offense will be good. You know, they still got Njoku as their tight end. They'll be good. You
They
know,
have a lot going on with their defense in terms. They have
yes,
yeah,
they
injuries.
do.
Yeah.
It's not great, and I think that the only automatic I think is going to have a phenomenal season is Nick Chubb, because
Yeah.
there's no Kareem Hunt, so he's not taking any snaps, and they did like Kareem Hunt. They like that little double-headed monster that isn't there anymore, so therefore you can lean on Nick Chubb. That is about as good as I think they'll be. I think that I'll give them 2 extra wins, but make them 9-8. I still don't think that they make the playoffs though.
I mean, they could potentially have a losing season. I think if any team has a losing season in that division, it could be the Browns.
It is going to be the Browns.
Because I don't see the other teams being at that bottom tier. But they
Right.
could be. They could be. But yeah, that's our look right now at the AFC. We're going to record the NFC. And that'll be part 2 where we go do a deep dive in the NFC. I'm excited that we had some football talk without even mentioning the doggone Cowboys. But we will mention them, of course, during our NFC preview. Before we head out of here, I wanted to ask you a question about how you feel in today's NFL. How do you feel? Which position is the hardest to play in today's NFL? The cornerback, defensive back, or the wide receiver?
Hardest position. I think I'm going to lean with quarterback because
You going with the defensive back is the hardest to play?
Hardest to play is quarterback.
No, I mean between the defensive back and the wide receiver. Which one of those is the hardest?
Oh, which one? Oh, just those two?
Yeah.
I say the defensive back then.
I do too. I say the defensive back because of just how the different rules in terms of playing defense in today's game. They can't do the things they used to be able to do on the field. Like, I think the way they play the position now, I would say the defensive back. But what were you going to say?
Well, that too, and you got to know everybody's play. You got to know what everybody is doing. You got to be well aware of what's going on, and it's difficult. So it's like you got to make sure that you don't move too quick. But you're not too delayed. So it's got to be perfect. You got to make sure that you understand, what these players are doing, because you just putting your hands up is going to make a difference. Maybe knocking that ball if somebody tries to, when the pass goes up. I mean, you have to know what's going on. So I will always say the defensive back in that scenario.
And then the last question, looking at your Saints, I want you, in our rewind capsule for this episode, give me your favorite team of all time for your Saints that you love and why. And then we'll say goodbye to the people.
So my favorite team that was assembled with the Saints was definitely the Super Bowl year. Everything just clicked in it, and it just made sense. That defense was gritty. That defense was so gritty. Drew Brees will always be my guy.
Do you think he's underrated, Drew Brees? Do you think he gets the respect he deserves?
He does and he doesn't. It's like on the line. And it's because, he doesn't have a lot of Super Bowls. How do we base players? How much have you won? He's only won one Super Bowl, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore people come at him. But if you look at his mechanics and how he plays the game,
Mm-hmm.
he's
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. There are guys that are short right now that you would take if Drew Brees was in his prime, and then a lot of these guys at his height, you would still take Drew Brees because he understands how to move his body. Although a smaller guy, he can
Yeah.
still see the field and make sure he sees the field. And if he gets knocked down, he's getting back up and he's going to get you on the next play. A lot of guys aren't built like that to actually use your head, in those moments. So that Super Bowl year was special from top to bottom.
Cool. But thank you for joining me and Natalia for this episode of Hoops and Huddle. And join us for part 2 of our NFL preview, where we'll go through in detail the NFC conference and look at what's shaking over there. So, Natalia, let them know where to find you.
Sure. So you can find me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter every day. But yes, Nat_the_GM, Nat the GM on Twitter. And you can catch me starting September 11th for season 2 of my podcast, the 3P podcast, which is, brought to you by the TSS Fantasy. But we will be live on YouTube, again, and it's all things NBA. We're gonna really get into it. So thank you. Just follow me, follow Malika, and I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you. Later, people.